Dumela. Dumela. Sabona Konjani. We've got no one in the house tonight, Dumela. Good evening, everybody. How are you? I'm so glad to see you here tonight. Thank you for being at Skoobs Theatre of Books tonight. I welcome you on behalf of Skoobs Theatre of Books. Just a few housekeeping. I think most of you have got the book and you've had it signed. Thank you for that. Supporting South African authors is what we do. Please like our Facebook page. I'd like to welcome our esteemed author tonight, Mmatshilo Motsei. I hope I said that correctly, because I want to do her justice. I'm absolutely honored to have her at Skoobs this evening, and honored to have you in the audience tonight. Thank you, Lorraine Satoli and Kim, for being here tonight. A formidable woman. Most of you know her, and I want to welcome you here tonight and thank you for being at Skoobs Theatre of Books and having your books at our stall. We're very proud of our South African authors. Please give her a round of applause, everybody. Come on. It's Friday night. Let's have some real good fun. Our MC tonight is another author, Terrello, who's written a book called The Voices of Jesus and Ancestors, and a very close friend, has become a very close friend of Skoobs and of myself, and it's an honor to have her in the store. And thank you for bringing this wonderful author to Skoobs. Ole, I am honored that you think of us all the time, our fellow authors. Fatima, thank you for being here tonight. And so I'm going to hand over to Terrello because she's the one with the gift of the gab. And please have a good time tonight. There's plenty of food. Afterwards, we're going to have a special performance with the guy that's worked with Judith Sapuma. So it's going to be absolutely fabulous. Let's have a good time and let's show some mad, mad love for our author tonight. Thank you very, very, very much.
Smela, Sanbonani, Khoyenach. It's one thing to dream of sharing a stage with someone you look up to, but it's a totally different experience sharing a stage with her. I'm so honored, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tirelo Ole Makeledisa. Don't ask me how I got the name Ole, it's a very funny story, but it's my nickname. I am here to honor my personal legend, a fearless woman that we all have grown to love. I have read this book and I must say you are a prophet. This woman has a gift of prophecy. If you have been watching and reading news, if you've been watching news, reading Facebook and all social media, and how we are, she said, self-annihilating the level of poverty in this country, the level of anger in this country, that eventually people will self-annihilate, people will self-destruct. It's all in this book. This book is a prophetic book, but it's a book that looks at holistic healing. How do we heal our land? I just said to her, I really wish this book could be part of the curriculum, because as South Africans and as Black South Africans, we will get to know who we are. We'll at least search and try to find out who we are, what our roots are. And we are blessed to be living at an age where we have a prophet, a woman of, oh God, and don't you just wish you and me? I'm sharing a stage with a legend tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Mmatshilo Motsei. And then we have another legend in the house. Actually, we have, my word, you are blessed. We have Ntate Setjhaba Morojele. Yes. He's a writer. I followed him too. I stalked him on Facebook until he eventually responded. because you know when you want to be a legend, you must surround yourselves with legends. Welcome. And then we have our musician who will be giving us entertainment later tonight. Ntate SB Muilwa. He wrote Ntate Motsei. He has traveled the world, but like as a country without an identity, we do not know the talent that we have in this country. Neither do we celebrate who we are. That's why we wonder why we are so fractured and why we keep self-annihilating and self-destruction. How can we be who we are if we don't know where we come from? So, Mmatshilo, thank you so much for honoring me and for trusting that I could do this for you. Yeah. I'm gonna give you the mic so that you can explain to us what inspired you to write this book. And she's also going to give us a book reading, and then from there we'll continue with the program.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your Friday evening with us. I think one of the most difficult questions to ask a writer is, why do you write? I remember 2 years ago, we were at a conference of writers, and that question came up. What was very interesting for me was to feel the heavy emotion in the room. You could even feel the brain moving, them asking themselves, why do we write? And I think also it was a thing of just connecting with the force inside, the force that's inside, that is forcing them to create. So I always say that artists are like healers. Artists transcend different worlds, and until such time that we understand that, we understand the ability of artists to move from one world to the other, and when we understand them, we give them the support and the necessary psychological and any other support that they need. So what inspired me, actually this book is a collection of essays that were written from, I think, around 2003. Most of them were written during the dark days when I was in isolation after having published Kanga and Kangaroo Court. And basically writing for me was a lifeline. Writing saved my life. If I didn't have the art of writing, I think I could have committed suicide. So a lot of the essays in here were written when I was really down. But it was amazing that when I was down, the minute I sit and start writing, my life just opened up. So now that I'm back strong, and let me also say with my own mouth, formidable. Now that I'm back, you know, I just read through the essays and I thought, okay, it would be a great thing to share my journey through essays, but not things like, this is what I went through. I'm the kind of question who likes asking unasked questions. If you want to really kill my spirit, stop me from asking questions. And so essentially, this is what inspired the writing of this book. We could say that the book saved my life.
Oh, and the book saved Mmatshilo's life. You know, I read somewhere where somebody says that what happens is that creativity is like a living being. When creativity comes as an artist or as a writer, as a poet, or as a filmmaker, because you dream about it. I actually dream in sequence, and I write about my dreams. My dreams goes from one place to another, and I write about it. So did you dream like that? Did you have that person, that feeling? I don't know what to call it, but it's almost as a living being. And if you do not get in touch with that person, that being, and you do not sit down, that moment when it comes, when that question comes, and you ignore it or you don't write it, does it disappear?
I'm a bit of a scatterbrain. I tend to operate a lot out of chaos. But also something else that makes me a bit of a scatterbrain is because of my gift of healing. You know? So initially, in the early stages, I was in a process of rebelling against myself, running away from myself, running away from my gifts, not wanting to be who I am. And now, many years now, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with who I am. I'm married to those who are inside me. Them and I are one. And as a result, when the force comes, when the voice speaks, it doesn't have to speak twice. It doesn't have to speak twice. It only has to speak once. And I hear it. And I meditate over it. I do what it tells me to do, because the voice tells you what you need to do from a place of love. And most of the time we don't see it as being from a place of love, because there are certain things that we want, and the voice does not offer that which you want. So one thing that I always say to people, whatever it is you're dealing with, whatever spirit it is that you're communicating with, it's always from a place of love. Even if you disagree with what the soul or the spirit is telling you, once you recognize that it's from a place of love, then you deal with it differently. So I'm done with rebellion. But if it means rebelling against the external system, that I can do, but it's also not worth it, because it's an illusion anyway. So where I'm at now is a place of surrender. I was saying to the group that I was speaking to today, that being who I am and doing the work that I'm doing is hard, but it is even more harder if I don't do it. So I'd rather be who I am now, do the work that I'm doing, even if it's hard. I don't want any other. This is the best I can be.
Oh, wow. You know, reaching the point of surrendering. Normally, your typical question would be, oh, did something bad happen to you? You know, like when you get born again, most of us, Bazelwine, before you give, it's like, oh my God, Ofra. You know, you're frustrated, something bad must have happened. Now you are seeking solace from a form of religion. What happened? What made you surrender?
I was clapped many times. My son was reminding me the other day of one time when I rebelled quite bad. And I was driving, I was going where I was not supposed to be going, and something happened. You know, the engine, it was just smoke everywhere. So I rebelled, and I got hit quite a lot. But one thing that was the greatest gift is me being stripped of everything I had in codes, because I always remind people that those things did not belong to me. The house belonged to the bank. The car belonged to the bank. So in a sense, I didn't lose them because they were not mine. But being stripped in that way and ending up in a village in Bushbuck Ridge with no water and electricity, and in the middle of winter, and sitting out on a crate. It was like just the highlight of my life. And I think I'll do a piece today that speaks to that. But nothing, it's not bad. That's why I'm saying that it's the greatest gift. If I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I actually love who I am now because I'm in a better space. I'm much more rooted. I like who I am. So having been there was a gift.
Last question, because after this, you guys will be asking the questions after she has read a piece from the book. You talk a lot about forgiveness. And forgiveness, I don't mean just forgiving. She's talking about forgiving the unforgivable. You know, there's one thing that my mother taught me and my Mmatshilo taught me. By the way, we only met today for the first time.
Wow.
But yeah. But we've been friends for a very, very long time. She's my spiritual sister. It's almost as she mirrors my thoughts. I'll be thinking about something and she writes about it. I'm like, oof, this is freaking scary, you know? Even within the book, like some of the questions, you know, she asked something like, there's a question that I was asking, you know, my uncles were alcoholics. Those guys could drink, which I later became, by the way. You know, we all know about how it goes, you know? And I wouldn't understand why I would have to listen to Idlozi, an ancestor of an alcoholic. So I rebelled myself. Surrendering was difficult. And the funny part is then I would get into a trance after I got drunk, but that's a story for another day. So yeah, it was just one of those strange things. She talks about forgiveness. Forgiveness is very difficult. There's time where you'll forgive your partner, where you'll forgive your mom, you'll forgive your dad, but how do you forgive someone who's killed your father? How do you forgive someone who has raped you? How do you forgive the unforgivable? This is the one question that I've wanted to ask you, because she has transcended that level. She talks about, she preaches about it. It's easier to read. You know, I have been forced to forgive those that defiled me. I learned the forgiveness and the freedom is beautiful. My life is blessed. I'm even a yellow bone. I used to be a bit dark. I am. So please explain to us that the concept. How is a spirit able to transcend the state of victimhood? She calls it the state of victimhood, especially as women. You know, it's almost like we carry a crown of anger. I will never forgive him, never. You know, it's something that women do. Even as a child, I remember growing up in an environment that was single mothers, divorced, and they swore never to forgive their baby daddies. Women are taught to be angry. And in South Africa, we have seen that with the hashtag men are trash. You know, that we can't, we are unable. If you are a nice woman, they tell you, Ustaila. You know, if you are a sharing woman, they will tell you, why should you support them on? But why should we be defined by what society says about us? So I want you to explain to me, how do you forgive a husband who was lazy at work, loses his job, comes back home, and you are able to transcend that anger and that bitterness? How do you do that?
Forgiveness is from a place of, it's for selfish reasons. You forgive for selfish reasons because you don't want to carry the burden. So there's an element of self-interest in forgiveness, that once you do it, you travel lighter. And it's also from a place of self-love. I love myself so much that I don't want to walk around carrying the burden of, you know, agonizing over something that someone has done to me. I'm just too special to carry that around. So when things happen to me, I process them and I let them go, because my body can't carry that. My system can't carry that. I always say that in the second half of my life, I'd like to travel light. If it means playing, I'd like to play. And this is what I have decided to do, that the second half of my life is going to be easy. It's going to be floating. Because I've done all the work in the first half. So forgiveness really is for me. And whether the other person receives it or not, it's neither here or there. I'm doing it for me.
There's a part in the book where she asks, where the kids are not here, what type of a prostitute are you? What type of a prostitute are you? All of us have an inner prostitute. But I'm going to leave it to Mmatshilo to read an excerpt from the book, and then after that it will be the Q&A.
Okay, I will read a piece that I wrote in 2010. 2010 was the height of my troubles, by the way. That's when I was homeless. But that's also 1 year where I wrote quite a lot. Artists tend to create a lot from pain, but I've decided that now I'm going to start creating from joy. I'm done with creating from pain. So I wrote this in 2010. What kind of an addict are you? When you hear the word addict, who and what comes to mind? For many of us, the word invokes images of a hobo on the street corner doing whatever he needs to do to get his regular dose of crack or nyaobe. Or an alcoholic who cannot control his urge to drink. Or anyone who has consistently demonstrated his inability to care for anyone or anything but his need for a fix. In our minds, we see an addict as someone who's totally separate from us. After all, we are normal, right? We live in perfect houses with perfect families, drive perfect cars, and we run perfect companies and institutions. We go to church every Sunday, we pray every day, and we're definitely not like those sinners around the corner. When God blesses us, we give to the poor. Yes, we do indulge in alcohol and sex, mostly unprotected, but we are different from those immoral junkies. If anything, we are respectable citizens with a stable source of income. Unlike them, we hold regular paying jobs. Of course, we do know that we are one paycheck away from bankruptcy, but we do get by. Some of us hold noble leadership positions, and when we speak, people stand in awe. There's just no way that we could be addicts, right? Wrong. How does this relate to me? I'm going to keep on skipping. How does this relate to me? Am I an addict? Yes. I have been living a life of struggle for years. In other words, I'm out of control. At first, I blamed external circumstances for my situation. With time, I began to see the light. However, I still chose suffering. If that is not addiction, I don't know what is. Before I can change, I must answer the following questions. What am I addicted to? What are the thoughts and beliefs that stand in my way, which are between me and my greatness, my power, my freedom? What do I need to do to let go of these beliefs? Now to answer the first question, what am I addicted to? I'm addicted to the struggle. To reinforce the suffering that comes with the addiction, I tell myself that things never come easy to me and that I always have to struggle for everything and anything in my life. I may never say these words out too loud, but I do say them in my mind. I'm a talented and gifted woman. I have written insightful books. I have also read many books written by inspirational men and women. I have participated in endless enlightening discussions with inspiring people. Somehow, the power seems to stay locked somewhere in my head. If suffering is a struggle, and if I know that I'm the answer to my suffering, why do I still choose to struggle? The answer is simple. It is because I choose to operate out of my smallness and powerlessness. I use the word choose reluctantly. When it comes to these matters, it is always better if you can blame someone or circumstances that are external to you. We live in a society that upholds and celebrates mediocrity. In such a society, addictions are inevitable. Media houses make massive profits from narrating stories of people who operate out of their power. Television programming thrives on human suffering. It is easier to gain fame and fortune from misery than joy. It is any wonder that many of us find it easier to stay addicted to our powerlessness. Are you surprised that many of us will kill for our right to be victims? Before I get caught up in a long list of intelligent excuses, let me ask myself other key questions. If I'm uniquely gifted and talented, why am I suffering? In other words, why do I choose to operate out of my smallness in spite of my greatness? How do I teach others that we are all born with infinite greatness and that we have the power to be, have, or do if I myself fail to recreate my world? To answer these questions, let me tell you a little bit about my journey. If you have read some of my books, you may know parts of the story already. If so, pardon me for the repetition. For 7 years, I cohabited with failure after having been flung out of a successful career. Faced with homelessness in 2010, I landed in an old house with no water and electricity in Mavajan village, Bushbuckridge. Arriving in the freezing month of June, I tried to keep warm by wrapping myself in a blanket and sitting in the sun on a crate. Gone were the days of being sought after to do consulting work for reputable national and international organizations. My email inbox stared back at me with disbelief, and my mobile phone accused me for its silence. To protect my youngest son from my self-pity, I took him to weekly boarding school. Do not ask me where I got the money because my answer is I don't know. If you do not believe me, ask the bursar at the school. She spent many of her waking hours chasing me for non-payment of school fees. Before then, I lived in many different houses around White River. At some point, I was evicted because of not being able to pay rent. The house in Mavajan belonged to a Lutheran church mission, and the rent was affordable. Later, I could not even afford the rent, and I had to move. I have moved house 8 times since relocating from Pretoria to White River in 2008. Once or twice, suicide was not far from my mind. I was alone in the house for the first time in my life. Faced with a hollow feeling in my heart, I resorted to drinking a glass of red wine to sleep at night. 1 glass became 1 bottle in no time. One day I woke up with a voice that asked me, "Mmatshilo, what are you doing?" It was obvious that if I continued on that path, I would be sucked in like an insect that disappears in quicksand. That is when I took to jogging every morning. Jogging led me to a new chapter comprised of raw food and meditation. As I ran deeper into my own forest, I discovered parts of me that have always operated out of power. I didn't decide to run deeper into my forest until I ended up at the top of Kilimanjaro after a grueling 7-day climb. Later, I discovered that time spent with oneself can be one of the most delightful and satisfying human activities. Not only do you get to know yourself better, you also learn to conquer the monster called loneliness. Anyone who is immobilized by the thought of spending extended periods of time alone has a long way to go before they reach a place of freedom. There are several reasons why I decided to venture on my own silent retreat. Firstly, I was hard-fought with a repetitive pattern of lack in my life. It was becoming depressing and immobilizing. As a creative, my mind was always occupied with where do I get the money to pay rent? How will I survive in the next 2 weeks? How do I provide for my children? The number of anxiety attacks related to lack of money could crush a regular heart. Luckily, I seem to be blessed with the heart of a horse. As artists, and here I'm referring to art as a universal creative energy, how can we create with a mind that is infested with such crippling fear? When we operate from lack, we feel incomplete. When we feel incomplete, we complain about everything and everyone, from our parents and lovers and children, to political parties and the state, to the economy and society. The list is endless. I began to question my relationship because I expected my partner to fill up my empty space within. In my head, I knew that the solution is not about finding a man who will rescue me from my miserable life. The solution was with me, in me. I decided to go on a search for a bigger love, a love that has no demands or expectations, one that does not want to change anything or anyone. Looking back, I'm grateful that I was in a relationship with a man who was as broke as I was. If I was dating a rich man, he would fly me to romantic destinations across the world. He would buy me expensive clothes and designer bags and shoes and jewelry and take me to dinners driving in fancy cars. If that was the case, I would continue to believe in the illusion that someone or something that is external to me makes me happy. Ben Okri is right, and he says, illusions are useful only if we use them to help us to get to our true reality. They enable us to pass from the illusion of our lesser selves to the reality of our greater selves, our soaring powers. They free us from our smallness. Nature is a caring mother. She provides what we need in spite of our wants. If I were to get money or a man who would take care of my financial needs, I would have thought that my illusions are my reality. A partner who showed up without any conditions or expectations, one who accepted me for who I was in spite of what I was going through, was therefore what the doctor ordered. I can only say this now. I did not think so at the time. Deep in my mind, there was an illusion that emanates from what I was taught when I was growing up as a girl. If he cannot take care of you financially, he's not the right man for you. This, coming from a self-proclaimed feminist, it is true what they say. When the going gets tough, principles fly out of the window. My time in a dark pit was an opportunity for me to unlearn what I was taught as a child. It was time to unlearn beliefs that do not have any value or relevance in my life. I'll end here. The chapter is quite long. Thank you. So that answered the question, what happened? And that's why I can actually stand here and confess that I'm such a formidable woman. But I cannot claim to have done this on my own. Blessings. I have the greatest of parents. My dad, who died 2 years ago was my greatest fan. He couldn't deal with me because I'm the kind that when people say people go this side, I tend to go the other way. So he struggled with that, but he loved me regardless. And I also am blessed with the most amazing children. One of them is this big man here, and then my daughter, and the youngest is in Grahamstown. Each of them mothered me in a different way. Funny, the girl is the one who tend to be rough with me. The boys are much easier with me, but the girl. So they basically, whenever I have an opportunity, they gave me a lifeline. I could have given up, but just to be a mother to such beautiful human beings who are also so talented, and to see them, grow, it's something that I had to hold on to. And essentially the piece that I have read basically is to say, it's amazing how many of us operate out of our smallness, because we have been conditioned. If you check the kind of hymns we sing in church, those hymns reinforce our smallness, I always make an example. If you have been to all these places that I go to, so I'm like, okay, how's natokelo uyagai? Or what like it? So there is just a way in which we have, and it's so subtle, even in culture, even in tradition, in religion, it's subtle. It's essentially saying to you, you are small, you can't be big, you can't be powerful, you can't be great. And let me end by sharing an experience, and then I'll hand over to you so that it can be something that, an experience that I had at one time. I was in therapy when I was really, really down, and then I chose to go into hypnosis. And during hypnosis, the healer says, what do you see? I said, I see two people. One is very big and has got more light, but the other one is small. And then the healer asked, who are you between those two people? I said, I think I'm the small one. And then asked, who is the big one? He says, I think it's God. And the healer asked, is it possible to grow yourself to a point that you are equal to God? And I said, I don't think so. So we worked on it, and I did grow myself to be equal with the same light. And that for me is a moment that I always remember, that it is possible for us to grow to our ultimate greatness, to become the kind of people that we are meant to be. So let me end there and open this for comments and questions. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Greatness, ne? It's only a few people that were taught greatness. Talking about how religion reinforces our smallness. Growing up as a child, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about that the poor are the ones who are likely to get into heaven. I was so poor, I was looking forward to get to heaven. Thank God I overcame that. I was looking forward to get to heaven. I mean, seriously, guys, if you have to eat pap and cabbage today, I'd rather get to heaven as a child. But there's one thing, the good thing that came out of it. If you went to Lutheran churches, the Germans used to give us clothes, ne? So they would give it to the crumbs, to the poor Africans that are Lutheran. So I must say, I did wear clothes from Germany. So I was really blessed. I wore clothes I wore impulse at a very young age. So let me give the mic to you. Who has a question now? To those who have a question for Motsei, for Mmatshilo. Anyone? Hello. Questions, thank you.
What on earth possessed you in this country to take on the topic, and it's not related to tonight's book, but your previous book with the kanga and the kangaroo? What was that step that you took to actually take on something so strong that us women feel about, especially with the person that it was about?
I spent a greater part of my adult life working with survivors of rape. I started an organization in Alex called Adapt. I started it from nothing. When that trial was on, memories and stories of women just flooded me. And some of them at the time called me because they were distraught. And by the time, you know, I fought so much in myself until such time that I decided, hey, but I'm a writer, you know. I can use my craft to write. And as soon as I sat down, I didn't sleep during that time. It was winter. I wrote it in winter. I had to go and buy this thick gown, which I had to wear in the middle of the night, just writing. I had a sense that there was going to be a backlash, but I also knew that it will not touch my physical being, because I don't give anyone permission to touch my physical being. So I locked myself in. This is where being a witch is helpful. You use the idea of being a witch to protect yourself, but then I couldn't protect myself from, you know, being isolated economically. But also, that's what it was meant to be. My life is meant to be what it has been. And I had to write that book because I was feeling strong about the issues. I had to write it because there were so many women who called me at the time talking about experiences of sexual violence in camps in Liberia. So I felt that if I don't do something, I'm going to go crazy. But also, you asked a question, what on earth possessed me? The issue is I'm always possessed. And that's why I'm so okay with being mad, because I'm so okay with not being normal. And so I think by virtue of being not normal, it doesn't mean I'm abnormal. I'm not normal, but I'm not abnormal. So by virtue of being not normal, I mustered the courage to write it. I look back, in the reading this afternoon, somebody asked me, would you write it differently if you were to write it now? And I said, no. Also another thing, I don't waste time in the past because we can't change it. So I don't even want to think about whether I would write it differently or not. It's not even open for discussion because I wrote it at that point. And I'm happy that I did. It's been a gift. One thing that this process has done is it has softened me. I was like hard. I was like, I mean, if you are used to, you know, this process has really softened me. And in my being soft, I feel that I'm tougher. I'm much more tougher in my softness and in dealing with challenges differently and not even confronting things and walking away from things and dealing with challenges not the way that I used to. So I think it's a long-winded answer to your question. What possessed me is I'm always possessed. What possessed me is that I'm born for this. And I think I struggled a lot because I believed in my smallness. I had to go through this so that I can grow to be the same height and light as that figure when I was in hypnosis. So it had to happen.
We know these churches, ne? Go deeper. Go deeper, man of God, deeper. Go deeper, Motsei. Mmatshilo, go deeper. I wanted to ask you a question, ne? Normally when we hear voices, you wrote a book, Seeing Visions and Hearing Voices. Hearing voices, seeing visions. Haven't you?
The other way.
Okay, let's not expose my dyslexia. Haven't you been told that you're evil? Haven't you been called evil? Haven't you been told that you have a mental disorder, maybe schizo? Haven't you maybe tried to tap into the mental state of those people with a calling? Because let me put it this way, is there a correlation between those? But there was another question, eh? Yeah, someone with a question, and then you answer those.
Thank you very much, Ode, for the inspirational session. I don't think this is a book launch, it's an inspirational session for me. I like your happy ending, but what are the possibility of you taking us back to the beginning of this happy ending? When you were at the crossroads, what happened to you for you to be here? And then my question is then, my small mind question is that the spirits, when they attack you or when they visit you, do they come when you are conscious or when you're sleeping? My small mind question.
Okay, I'll start by saying it's not a small mind question, it's a question. Okay. The spirits visits all the time. There's a voice that speaks in us all the time. Whether you have been called to be initiated as Naga or not, all of us have got the voices that speaks in us, that directs us. I mean, have you ever experienced a situation where something told you to do something or not to go this direction, and you go, and then something happens and you say, you know, I knew it. So I think basically the voices are there all the time. And of course, some of it comes through dreams. But now, they come during the day. I talk to myself all the time. I mean, even when I'm driving with the kids and I start laughing, they don't even look in my direction. Lauren Hill talks about the head people. So my head people are very active. And my head people and I are one. We are one thing. We have basically reconciled. And I know that, you know, that they're for my well-being. And so almost like I wear them like I'm wearing this clothes. What happened at the time, you will find from that, reading the story, because the chapter is a bit long, I didn't want to kind of get into it. I questioned the existence of God. I was so negative. I was full of self-pity, a sense of entitlement that I've done so much for this country. Look at where I am now. There's no one for me, whatever. So all the emotions that you can think of someone who's going through a crisis, especially at the time, operating a lot from ego, you know, feeling that I'm not supposed to be who I am, as if this has to happen to someone else, and why someone else and not me. So I was going through the denial, the making lousy decisions about my life, decisions that I even regretted at the time, which I don't regret now. And also the acceptance that I'm not perfect. You know, this whole thing of us trying to be perfect is a trap. Don't believe in it. It's a serious trap. We should allow ourselves, we should give ourselves space to mess up. We should allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them. And what I used to do at the time was I would do a mistake and I would beat myself so much. You know, I would beat myself so much for having done what I did. So yeah, I don't want to go into that, but I don't also want to give an impression that I have just come out of it and here I am, as if I did not struggle with it. I did. I messed up, right? And I also don't want to give an impression that I won't mess up from here. I am going to mess up, you know? So, because, I mean, the more we grow, the more we evolve, the more we get into spaces that are not familiar. And the thing about life is that, the one thing that's fascinating about life is that life will give you one thing or two things that you struggle over. Naganja. You know, even if you get other things right, but there'll be one or two things that will knock you down. You know, until such time that you surrender and say, okay, what is it that I need to learn from here? About being devil, who's not? Who's not evil? That's my response. I mean, the devil, now we know that in that book there's a chapter where I talk about heaven is here now, so is hell. And I talk about my impression, yeah, Satani is a black man who doesn't own land and a house, and because this is what I have been taught, you know. And I do mention that when I was growing up, I don't remember seeing in the books that I read an angel who's got a black skin. So all those things are things that shape our relationship with this force that we call God. We approach it from a space of inferiority already. So we create God in our own inadequate, inferior image. And so it doesn't really matter what people say. And there also the division between, and this is long, if you read books, Tabo, Albert Lutuli, and the Star Wars, you kind of see who this division between Christianity and African religion comes from far. The division Yamakholwa and Baheteni. All those things are things that shaped our relationship with God. And it's not necessarily from a positive space. So we get into the space and you know, then it becomes a problem. Because how do you claim how do you occupy the space powerfully? How do you occupy it as somebody who owns it? So, yeah, and basically this is it.
More questions?
Hi, coming from doing healing work as well, I just want to pick the brain of someone who's not normal, because that excites me. I have one question, but it's linked in two parts. Can one heal from, is it possible to heal without having gone through pain? And the second one is, what in your opinion is the difference between healing from pain and healing from a joyous state or a whole state? Thank you.
When you look at our conditioning now, and the fact that we are limited in our thinking as a human race, and here I'm not even talking about black people, as a human race, we are limited in our thinking in the way that we occupy our space. When you look at that, it's not possible to heal without having gone through pain, because we believe that we need to suffer. Don Miguel Ruiz explains this very well, I think in his book, The Mastery of Love. He talks about why do we suffer? Because we choose it. We choose pain, we choose suffering. So I think as we evolve and we break out of even organized religion and evolve into our ultimate greatness, in spite of what we believe in, I think we'll be able to learn to heal from joy. What I'm learning lately, and I see myself more as a toddler in this journey now, that I'm crawling, and I'll be able to walk. And also it's about giving yourself permission not to be miserable. And also when someone hurts you, because we say someone hurts you, if someone does something that hurts you, be able to process it quicker and let it go and not have to carry it. I'm becoming a master in that, which is quite great. And my kids are accusing me that I'm probably on Nyaope, because they'll do certain things and then be surprised that I'm like, duh. So it's part of my evolution. And why? Because this is my last life. I think I've been here before, many times before, and I don't want to come back. This is it. And I said the only reason why, if I want to come back, is come back as a talented musician, and deeply spiritual as well. Deeply, not just talented as a musician, but deeply spiritual, evolved. If I negotiate and there's no role of a deeply, highly spiritual, talented musician and a woman, again, I wouldn't want to come back as a man. I think I've been a man before, you know, and I think I messed up big time. I think I was trash, you know. So, I think it's just a matter of evolving and surrendering